Hey there, this is Katie from Katie and the Squid. I don't really know what this video is going to be yet. Hopefully you'll know by the title of the video. But I bought a surprise bag of yarn from Amazon. So it's, I was just poking around Amazon and this kind of like jumped out at me. And it's a variety pack of yarn. I don't know what colors are in here. I do know what yarn it is, but I don't know exactly what I got. So I'm gonna open it, and my thought is that I will think of something to design and I'll make a video tutorial of it, and we'll just see what it becomes. So I'm gonna flip the camera around, I'm gonna open this up, and I'm gonna decide what I'm gonna do. Okay, so this is the listing that I bought. It is the Jubilee Yarn Cotton Select Yarn. I don't know anything about this brand. I've never used it before, but it is a surprise pack of 12 skeins. I don't know what's in here, so we're gonna find out together. So I got 12 skeins of yarn. I do know you can purchase this yarn separately, so I'm just going to go through all of these and I will show you the colors, and I'll link to where you can get it on the listing that I got from Amazon. So if you wanted to get specific colors, I believe you can do that. This is Jubilee Yarn Cotton Select. It is a sport weight, 100% cotton, and it's available in, it says it's available in 57 colors. So there's quite a bit of colors. It feels nice and soft. I was hoping it would be, I don't know what I was hoping because I didn't know what I bought, but it's very soft and it just feels like a basic cotton. So I'm going to go through the colors and then I'm going to think of what I'm going to do with all of this. Okay, so this is Vapor Gray. We have Blushed Peach, Marina Green, Glacier Blue, Soft Red, Light Yellow, Hearts Red, Dynasty Blue, Witching Hour Black, Mint Green, Imperial Blue, and Four-Leaf Clover Green. So I like that I didn't get any duplicate colors, and I feel like it's a nice selection of colors. There's not one that I would say I don't like. I think the green and the red are probably my least favorite, and I think if I take those out, it's a bit nicer, but I'm going to use them all. So what I'm thinking, it's a very soft yarn, and it is sport weight, so it's on the thinner side. So I'm thinking I'm going to make a shawl or a wrap or something, and I'm going to try and use all of the colors. I'm going to make it a super simple pattern. I'll work it up, and I'll also type up the pattern and I'll put it on my blog. So I'm just going to dive right in and get started. On the label, they suggest a 3.25 millimeter knitting needle. It's usually similar with crochet hooks. So I want my wrap to be more drapey, on the drapey side. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with a 4 millimeter hook. I recently posted a review of these hooks, so you can check those out. I'm gonna just kind of pick a color at random here and I'll get started. Okay, I'm going to tell you my strategy here. So I'm going to do a super stripy crocheted wrap, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick colors at random and I'm going to change colors every row. So the idea is hopefully that they kind of like blend together and make a really nice shawl. So I'm going to save my yarn wrapper over there off to the side, and I'm going to find my end here. I'm not going to pull from the center because that's always a disaster. So to start, I'm just doing this on the fly. I am going to chain, and it's going to be a really, really long chain. So I'm not even going to count. I'm going to make a chain that is long enough that it will stretch. I'm going to make it as tall as I am. So it's going to, if I hold it out in front of me, it's going to stretch from one fingertip to the other. So nothing fancy, no counting, no nothing. I'm just going to chain and chain and chain and chain, and I will come back. So actually, I do want to say, so since I'm changing colors every row, I'm not going to be weaving in ends because I hate that. So I'm going to be using the ends as tassels. So I want to make sure that when I start my chain that I leave a long enough tail so that I can include that in my tassel. And I'm just going to grab a ruler here, and let's plan on making this end. Let's make it 12 inches long. So then if I get to the end and I want to make them shorter, I can trim them if I want. So I'm going to make sure that I leave an end of 12 inches. So I can make the tassels, or not tassels, it's going to be fringe. So I can make it longer or shorter if I want. I'm not sure right now. So I'm going to go with 12 inches, and I'm going to make sure to leave that on my ends. And then I'm just going to start chaining, and I'll be back. So I made my chain, and what I did is I made sure it was as tall as I am. So I kept chaining until when I stood up, it reached the floor and went to the top of my head. And then I added maybe like 10 more chains just because the stitch that I'm going to use might shrink it down a little bit. So, and then I also grabbed a piece of paper so I can keep track of the colors that I use in the order that I use them, just in case you want to replicate this exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten off. I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to leave that 12 inches that I said. Let's see. So 12 is all the way over here. Cut that off, and then I will pull the loop all the way through. I like designing things like this kind of on the fly because you don't really have to think much, and hopefully it turns out good. So now I have all my yarn sitting off to the side. I'm just going to kind of look away and grab another ball at random. So I grabbed the green that I don't really like, but that's okay. So this is 408, which is 4-leaf clover green. I'm gonna find the end here. So again, I want to make sure, I'll just make sure that my end is the same length as this end. And I'll put a slip knot on my hook. And then I'm just going to do a standing single crochet into the first chain here. So let's see if I can bring it closer. So I'm going to insert my hook into this first chain. Trying to look through the camera and look at my yarn. Okay, so and then I will just take my working yarn, and then I will pull up a loop, and then I'll pull through 2, and that'll make a single crochet, a standing single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to skip 1 chain, and then I'll single crochet into the next. And I'm going to repeat that all the way across. So I'm going to chain 1, I'll skip 1 chain, and then single crochet into the next. So I'll do that all the way across until I get to the end of my chain, and then I will show you what I plan to do. So I've made it to the end of my chain. Actually, I have 2 chains left, and I want to show you how I want to finish this. So since I didn't count my chains, if you're following along with this and you didn't count your chains, because we don't want to count, there's a certain way we want to finish off this row so that each row after is just a repeat of the same row. So I finished with a chain one, skip one, single crochet into the next. So then I have 2 chains left, but I'm going to go ahead and just, if I can get this. So I'm going to single crochet into the next. So I'm ending with 2 single crochets. And then I'm just going to ignore this last chain and well, I'll go ahead and do it right now. So next I'm going to fasten off, and I'll make my end about the same length as this first end, and then I'll pull it through. So since I have this extra chain, actually I'm going to chain 1 before I pull this through. So since I have this extra chain, I'm actually going to pull that out. I might have to grab a needle. Oh, no, I got it. Okay, so we're gonna, actually, I'm just gonna pull it tight. So I kind of loosened up the slip knot, and I'm just gonna pull that tight, and it's gonna be like that chain never existed. So you may have ended with your last chain, you may not have. So if you had an extra chain, you can go ahead and just pull it out like I did, or you might end on the last chain. So just make sure that you end with 2 single crochet at the end. So I'm going to grab my next yarn. So this one, I like this blue. So this is Imperial Blue, which is 404. Write that down so I remember. And then each row after this is just going to be exactly the same. So again, I want to make sure that my end is the same length as these. Oh, I made that green one a little bit extra long, but that's okay. So I'm going to start with a slip knot on my hook. And I'm going to do a standing single crochet into this first single crochet. So I'll insert my hook. It gets a little fiddly because you have all these extra ends that you got to make sure you're grabbing the right one. So I will pull up a loop through this first one. Make sure I don't grab my end. Pull that through there. And then I will pull through both of those loops. So I just did a standing single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to single crochet into the next chain 1, and then I'll chain 1 and single crochet into the next chain 1, and I'm going to do that all the way across. Until I get to the end. And when I get to the end, I will do a single crochet into the last chain 1 space, and then I'll do a single crochet into the last single crochet. So I'm going to go do this row, and I'll show you how to finish off every row. So every row is going to be exactly the same. Here I am at the end of the row, and I did a chain 1, and then I just have 1 chain and a single crochet left. So I will single crochet into the last chain 1, and then I will single crochet into the last single crochet, and then I will chain 1, and I'll fasten off again. So I'm just going to repeat that same row until my little wrap is as wide as I'd like it to be. I don't think I said this before, but this is just the moss stitch. So I will grab my next color, and I'll start next row. I'm trying not to look. I'm just grabbing yarn at random. So, oh, this one's pretty. So this is Green Mint, which is number 503. I'm going to write that down. So we're going into the weekend, so I'm just going to keep working on this, and I will come back and show you what it looks like when it's longer. So again, I'm just repeating the same row until I feel like it's wide enough. And I have quite a bit of yarn here, so I think I'm going to make this pretty wide. It's been maybe a week since that last clip, and I've made some progress on my wrap. Not a lot. I had some other projects that I had to work on, and I ended up changing some things, which I wanted to just explain really quick before I moved on. So like I mentioned, the moss stitch kind of squishes things down a little bit. And what was happening was my chain was too loose, and so it was like kind of going like this and getting a little wavy. And I thought, well, maybe if I keep going, it'll get better. And it was just driving me crazy. So I ended up ripping everything out except for my chain. I left the chain in that I did in the 4mm hook. And then I switched to a 5mm hook for the rest of the wrap, and it's coming out great. I love how it's coming out. So I'm really happy with the striping. So I picked the first 12 colors at random, and then I'm just going to repeat the same striping until I feel like it's wide enough. And I'm really excited to show you guys how this comes out. I will come back when it's wide enough, and I will show you how to deal with the fringe. So it's been a few weeks since I've recorded this wrap, but I am really excited because I did finish stitching the whole thing up, and I'm getting ready to finish it. So what I did is I repeated the stripe pattern, which was 12 rows. I repeated that 8 times for a total of 96 rows. And this is about how big it is. So I'm just going to measure this, and it is probably about 18 inches. If I were to lay this all flat, yeah, about 18 inches wide. So if you're making this, you can totally adjust that length or that width. You can make it skinnier for a nice scarf, or you can make it even wider if you'd like a bigger wrap. So I need to finish off my fringe. So this side, I haven't done anything to it. These are just all the ends that I left. And remember, I made these ends about 12 inches, which I'm realizing is probably way too long. So what's happening is this yarn, because it's cotton, it's got like a matte finish to it. It's kind of sticks to itself, so it's tangling really easily. So I'm going to adjust the pattern when I write it out and stuff, and suggest that you only leave maybe 8 to 10 inches instead of the 12 inches that I did. So I will trim that to make it shorter. But now I think it's up to you, if you're making this, if you want to add a little bit more volume to the fringe. So this is what it looks like just now, and honestly it's probably okay like this, but I would like a little bit more volume to it. So I already did one side. I added some more volume to the fringe. Let's see. And I still need to trim it, so but this is how much fuller it is. So all I've done is I've added one piece of fringe folded in half, you know, to each end. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay, so for my fringe, I'm going to be adding just one more strand of yarn to the end of each row. So what I've done is I've cut, since I have 8 repeats of my pattern, I cut a total of 16 lengths of each color. So 8 for this side and 8 for the other side. So 16 total. And I made them about 20 inches long. So when they are folded in half, they are about 10 inches long. And I'll probably end up trimming that a little bit, even more than that, probably to make it closer to 8 inches. So, so I have 8 here in the blue, and then I basically have 8 left in every color. So I am matching my fringe to the row color. So I'll put a light blue on every light blue row, but you can mix and match if you'd like. It's totally up to you. So I'm just going to show you how you do this. You can grab pretty much any size hook. I think I have a 4.5 millimeter here because that's just what I grabbed. And while you're doing this, you want to make sure that it doesn't really matter which side you're inserting your hook on, just make sure you're doing it the same way all the way across just so it's consistent. So I'm going to grab a strand of yarn and I'm going to fold it in half. And if you'd like even a fuller fringe, you could add more than one piece if you'd like, but I felt like one piece for me was good. So I'm going to insert my hook into the end of the row, and then I'm going, so I folded this in half. So I've made a loop with the half where it's folded in half, and I'm going to put that around my hook and pull it through. And then to complete the fringe, I'm going to grab the end where I fastened off for the row. I'm going to grab that plus the rest of the yarn from the fringe that I'm adding. So all three of those strands are going to go through the loop like that. And then I'm just going to kind of pull it tight to secure. So I'm going to do that for every row that ends in this light blue. So let's see, maybe if I come even a little bit closer for you. So again, I'm going to take my strand of yarn and I'm going to fold it in half to make a loop at the halfway point. Insert my hook the same way that I did for this first one, so going down. Pull that loop through the end here, and then I'm going to grab that same color end that's on my wrap. So I have 3 strands of yarn in my hand here, and I'm going to pull it through that loop and then just kind of pull it tight to secure it. So I'm going to keep adding all my fringe, and then I'm going to, before I trim it, I'm going to block this, and I think I'm just going to steam it just to get all the ends nice and straight, and then I will trim it to all the same size. So I'm going to keep adding my ends, and I will come back and show you how to block it and how to trim the ends to finish it off. And then I'm just about done. Once I finished adding all of the fringe, it's time to block. So here I am blocking my wrap. I'm just using my Conair steamer, and I have these blocking mats that are really just gym mats. I'll link to where you can find both of those in the description of this video. So I'm just doing a really simple block with the steam, nothing fancy, no pins. I'm just kind of hitting the whole thing with a little bit of steam. This stitch is really forgiving and it doesn't really need a lot to block. I just like adding a little bit of steam to help relax the stitches a little bit. And then here I am blocking the fringe to make it nice and straight so that I can trim it nice and straight. So I used this wide tooth comb, and the verdict is still kind of out whether that was easier than just using my fingers. I kind of went back and forth between using the comb and my fingers. So if you don't have a comb, your fingers work just fine. It did take quite a while to get the fringe nice and straight. This has sped up quite a bit. So I'm trying to get the fringe straight as well as the end of the wrap straight so that everything is straight when I trim it. So once everything has cooled and dried, I grabbed this ruler, which I believe is a quilting ruler. I'll see if I can find something similar on Amazon, but I just like a nice straight long ruler so that you can make sure you're cutting your fringe evenly. So I'm just making sure everything is straight here, and then I kind of eyeballed bringing the ruler down maybe about 2 inches. The ruler is 6 inches, and then I added 2 inches when I brought it down, so I think my trim ended up about 8 inches. And then I just used my scissors to trim it off. I think a rotary fabric cutter would work great here. I've used it before and it goes a lot faster, but I couldn't find mine when I was recording this video, so I just used some scissors and it worked just fine. So I'm just trimming it, and then I will take the ruler away and kind of take a look at it. If there's anything that seems out of place, I will trim that as well. And here's the finished wrap. I'm actually really happy with how this design came out. These aren't colors that I would normally choose, so I'm really happy with it. I like how it looks with the simple dress that I'm wearing here. You can wear it a bunch of different ways. So you can wear it like a wrap like I had it, or you can kind of sling it over your shoulder like this. There are a bunch of different ways to wear it. You can even just wear it like a big cozy scarf and wrap it around the front of your neck and then take the ends over your shoulders. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.